President Biden signed the $95 billion foreign aid bill after the Senate passed it late last night. The bill, which will bolster Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan, was held up for months as Republicans in the House threatened to remove Speaker Johnson if he took it to the floor. Here's how both Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell and President Biden described the reasons behind the delay.
I think the demonization of Ukraine began by Tucker Carlson, who, in my opinion, ended up where he should have been all along, which is interviewing Vladimir Putin. And so he had an enormous audience, which convinced a lot of rank-and-file Republicans that maybe this was a mistake. And then our nominee for president didn't seem to want us to do anything at all. That took months to work our way through it.
It's a path to my desk. It was a difficult path. It should have been easier and it should have gotten there sooner. But in the end, we did what America always does. We rose to the moment. We came together and we got it done.
Also in the bill, a provision to force ByteDance to sell TikTok, giving the Chinese company 9 months to divest or face a ban in the U.S. Joining us now, NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Noble. So a lot to go through there, Ryan. I do want to start with TikTok. What's the deal with this ban?
Well, it's not a ban quite yet, Katie. It essentially is going to force this Chinese-based company to sell within 9 months or up to a year, or they will be shut down here in the United States. But it may not be that easy. ByteDance has already promised a very rigorous court battle as a result of this. TikTok CEO went to their platform today to promise the followers of TikTok and the TikTok users that they would do everything in their legal power to prevent this from being enacted. They argue that it is a First Amendment and freedom of speech issue, and that's why they think it is willing to go through this process. It is, of course, interesting that the Chinese-based company is claiming that they have a First Amendment and free speech right here in the United States, where the Chinese government has banned several American-owned social media apps in the last month or two, over the last couple of weeks.
Very interesting indeed. Let me ask you about this break. This is a bill that Donald Trump did not support. What does it mean for Republicans to break with him? Is this a movement or a moment?
Well, it's interesting. You played Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell's thoughts on this, and I just wrapped up a lengthy one-on-one interview with him that we'll have on NBCNews.com in a little bit. But getting his insight into Donald Trump's role in all of this was very interesting. He acknowledged that, along with Tucker Carlson, that Donald Trump played a big role in Republicans backing away from the idea that Ukraine funding was a smart idea. And then what he ultimately said was that Donald Trump's decision to kind of back away from his earlier backing away of Ukraine support kind of gave space for individual Republican members to assess this on their own and come up with their own conclusion. And the fact that Donald Trump didn't continue to hammer it right up until the very end gave them the space to vote yes and recognize that this was a real problem. Mitch McConnell believes that there's a family fight, he described it, in the Republican Party over these isolationist policies that Donald Trump's really been a champion of. That's kind of the whole basis of the America First movement. But he believes that his side is winning. He thinks more Republicans at the end of the day will support this idea that America needs to be actively involved in foreign policy around the world, or else the outcome could be a very, very negative one.
Ryan, let me also ask you about what we're about to see at Columbia University, where we're waiting on Speaker Mike Johnson to come out. He was meeting with Jewish students. Why is he going to call for the resignation of the school's president?
Yeah, you know, this comes just a couple of days after the Columbia's president was here on Capitol Hill and faced a tough grilling from his fellow Republican colleagues. You know, Speaker Johnson is joined by members of the Republican delegation from the state of New York, who claim that the university is not doing enough to keep the Jewish students on campus safe enough. So he's going to call for the president to resign. He's been meeting with campus leaders throughout the day today. He's been meeting with members of the Jewish community there. He's asking for the president to take some sort of action to tamp down the tensions there and to make sure that Jewish students are protected. We'll have to see when he actually speaks what specifics he wants to put behind that. But this is clearly something that Republicans have been behind. They're very concerned about the spread of this rising tension at college campuses all across the country, Katie.
Ryan, thank you very, very much.